That does not seem to be the issue. This is we're talking primarily at Twin Towers and CRDF.
Sorry, folks. The internet connection goes in and out sometimes, so I might phase out and then I'll break back in. I'm going to do the best I can, everybody. Thanks for being patient.
We need a different approach to how you're dealing with these issues. Custody and health and medical have to be working together to address the requirements of the settlement. I don't think it's a
Thank you, Mr. Green. Let me say also thank you for being here, but also appreciate what you're doing as the court-appointed monitor in this important area. I mean, obviously, it is an area that this commission is concerned about.
I've turned in one for item 4. This is for item 5, and I have one for item 6. Or do you have? I want to make sure I do it right. We're good.
Taking place with respect to the settlement agreement. And we look forward to hearing you again because I really would like to hear.
Is that your age or your IQ?
What progress, if any, is being made with respect to, for example, the 11 areas that are where the sheriff's department has.
One guy flips me off. That's all they've got.
Or I should say the county is not compliant because the sheriff's department is also.
My fifth report is due March 1st of 2018.
We'll look forward to that. Let me thank you. Yes, let me turn now to the Inspector General to discuss a recent report of the Office of Inspector General. That's a report that I believe is dated October 5th, so earlier this month, and I believe it relates to, although Mr. Huntsman will disabuse me if I'm wrong, but essentially it relates to undocumented immigrants.
Illegal aliens. I hate it when they say undocumented. They're not pieces of paper.
The Trust Act and the Truth Act. Mr. Huntsman?
Yes, Chair.
We're hearing them talk about Trust and Truth Act.
That is the primary focus of the report. In December of 2016, the board passed a motion after the department heads to report to the board regarding their efforts.
You can't hear very well.
Yes.
Is this one up?
No, it's not high enough.
To report to the board regarding efforts to address anxiety and fear among immigrants.
Oh, brother.
Oh.
They have anxiety because they're in the country illegally. How about go back to your home country and come legally? Give me a break. Who's paying for this?
And the board followed up with a request to this commission to respond regarding those practices and procedures and policies to make recommendations to the Sheriff's Department regarding adherence to that, and also to do that in collaboration with the Inspector General and the Controller as well. We worked with the Auditor Controller, and at this time we haven't implemented any audits involving them, but that's certainly an available tool for you to request it. Well, we prepared this report for your benefit and for back to the board, and the focus area was the one that we thought was the Sheriff's Department has many ways in which it impacts immigrants, of course, and out in the field there are many areas, and that's addressed lightly. But
that's
the
right.
primary
Illegal
one with respect to the current step up in immigration enforcement regarding undocumented immigrants occurs in the jails, and the sheriff gave a detailed description of how he addresses that, and how the department does that, and we set about monitoring that process and looking at it and making sure that we could confirm that that is indeed what was happening. So for the most part, as you'll see in the report, we did confirm that, and the position the sheriff has taken is indeed what he's doing in the jails for the most part, and it is now SB 54 has made into law what the sheriff is doing in the jail for the most part. I have with me a Deputy Inspector General who can address any questions on detail on SB 54, although I think probably County Council eventually would be your best source for that, because in the time coming ahead, the Sheriff's Department will have to implement SB 54 and make sure that they handle all the nuances. But the final version of SB 54 was very similar to the Sheriff's current practices. And there are some misunderstandings about what goes on in the jails that I've addressed in the report, but I just want to call attention to. One of them is the way the Trust Act operates. The Trust Act was written regarding detentions of people on ICE detainers. And not long after the issue arose, the Ninth Circuit, I believe it was, weighed in and said, you know, those detentions are unlawful, regardless of the fact that you're
That's a lie. Those
Those
detainers are illegal. They got federal documents.
Simply generated administrative statement that they want to hold somebody, that's insufficient, and that's an unlawful detainer. So no law enforcement agency in California after that engaged in the practice of holding people for ICE, where under the Trust Act they could have done so for 48 hours. So the Trust Act actually had no legal impact on that point. Instead, what the sheriff was doing was cooperating with ICE in the jails in terms of allowing them to take people into their custody at the conclusion of the sentence or when they were otherwise released, and very occasionally engage in interviews. And they did that using the criteria of the Trust Act, but not because it was required by law. Well, now under SB 54, that process is more codified and becomes the norm. The Truth Act, of course, as we also discussed in our report, was brought in later, which governs when you give information to ICE, making sure that the person upon whom you're giving information has an opportunity to learn that you're doing it, have their lawyer informed about it so that their due process rights will be protected. The Sheriff's Department has a procedure in place that they have worked out with County Council to do this. We've worked in negotiations between them and board offices regarding the notices, the format they're given, the languages they're given in, and the language and the timing in an effort to try to make sure that people get the best advance notice that they can. The part of the report that has generated more public interest is the part relating to information that was put out from the Sheriff's Department regarding the nature of the practice. And I want to be clear, I've addressed that in my report. I think it's a critical issue that the Sheriff's Department maintain the trust of the community, but there's a couple things I want to be clear on. Although there is information that was put out by the Sheriff's Department through the Public Information Office that was not accurate in terms of what was happening, I don't have any evidence that that was done intentionally. And as you can see from my report and my recommendation, in fact, my concern is the vetting of that information before it's put out as a public statement. And as you know from my previous reports, that's an ongoing issue that I have raised with the department in many areas. That I think it is absolutely critical for a law enforcement agency to be certain that they are always providing accurate information to the public and to double check their own information. That is a different thing.
Okay, I'm going to make a quick adjustment to something, everybody. I'll be back in a few minutes. Just
and
hang
the other
on,
thing I
okay?
wanted to make clear is